Go for it.
Uh,
I'm here with Chris. Is it Lemke?
yep.
Chris Lemke again.
Yep.
Here we go.
Yeah, we're in downtown Bismarck. There's been a lot of people being pulled over today. You know something about that.
I was one of them.
I don't know what the rest of them are for.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah, they charged me $100 for having an electronic device in my hand.
I'm glad to see the group that's here today again. The last couple days in town have honestly been awesome. I've actually been impressed by both sides. I've been kind of forced into the middle now. I've been pushed out of the other side for various reasons.
What happened?
I was becoming too vocal and getting too much attention. And certain parts of the bureaucracy weren't okay with that, so I was silenced. But there again, that didn't bother me because my main effort is just making sure my kids don't go to school and ask their teachers if they should be afraid. Try to send a positive message. Like I said, the last 3-4 days up here, I don't know anything about what happened down south. I don't believe rumors. I don't, if I don't see it myself, but here, every protest I've seen has been awesome. It's been peaceful. It's been people listening to those in charge. I mean, lined up on the sidewalk, spreading their message the right way. Like I say, I was in the military for 22 years, and that's the reason, is so people can do this peacefully and exercise their constitutional rights.
The thing I've noticed, if anything, today specifically, almost everywhere we drove, and this was the reason I pulled up the GoPro, is that people were, flipping the bird.
And I have no room for that on either side.
Well, exactly, and this was as the truck in front of me, everyone was saying, "We love you," and then I guess it's the locals flipping the bird and saying, "Go home."
I'm pretty sure that you and I are polar opposites on politics, but I respect you as a person.
Sure.
We've had some good conversations. Just because we don't agree on a certain stance on a political issue or something doesn't mean that we can't still respect each other.
Of course, yeah. No, I went to 200 political rallies over the course of the election, documenting it. Yep. So, you have to have civil conversations. That's how you make progress in the world.
Isn't that an interesting concept?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that it doesn't always happen that way.
Do you think the guy with the AR, that's bigger than the AR? What is that? I mean, do you think that's excessive for what's going on here?
I think that there's a very, very small group that has put everybody on their toes. I don't know. I won't guess or try to label who that small group is with that's trying to entice violence, because I don't know personally, but I know it's happening. And like you say, people flipping the bird, all of a sudden the other side reacts with flipping the bird and saying something, and it just escalates back and forth. So I really hope that nothing bad happens anywhere.
I'd like to
so I don't know about excessive.
Okay, so I'd like to find a way to educate the people of Bismarck and Mandan, really why everyone is here. And I think one of the best ways, actually, a very blue-collar guy, and his name is John Bolenbaugh. He came from Michigan, and he's an oil worker, but he became a whistleblower, and he documented all the poisoning that was going on in his own hometown by the company that he used to work for.
That's outstanding.
So people getting leukemia, his uncle died, dogs with huge tumors on their stomach, all the fish in the river had horrible tumors and oddities and oil just covered all over them. And that's my car alarm going off. Hold on, let me get my keys. Let's see if we can do it from here. But it's his website is dapplelies.com.
I can walk with you if you have to go.
Yeah, sure. Who's trying to break into my car over here?
I think more conversations like you and I are having right now would make everything would set a lot of people's nerves at ease to realize that it's not you against me. It's at all. It isn't. I don't feel threatened by anybody I've met here. I haven't.
I don't think anyone's doing anything, really.
Right. But a lot of rumors get thrown both sides. Things do get blown out of proportion.
Right.
We both know that there is media on both sides that have exaggerated things both ways. Like I say, I definitely won't point it one way or the other because I've seen it on both sides.
Do you want to talk for a second to everyone here? This is this is one of the guys.
Hey guys.
He's I don't want to call it the counter protest, but
I'm pro Bismarck Mandan community.
So I'm trying to work with him to try to come to some
We've had
kind
some
of
great
a conversation.
Oh,
Yes.
and we've had some very good conversations. And I just want to tell you guys, thank you for what you're doing. I spent 22 years in the military, trying to ensure the freedom of our Constitution. And I was just telling him that the last couple days up here, I don't know anything about what's going on down south, but I'm personally very impressed by the demeanor of everybody that is expressing their feelings up here. Lining up on the street and spreading the correct message. I haven't heard anything negative, and I think that's awesome.
So
we may be on polar opposites on a political side, but that doesn't mean we can't respect each other.
What I've been trying to get across is how we can educate the people in Bismarck and Mandan of what's really going on, and because that seems to be the main misunderstanding. People are driving by, flipping the bird,
There's too much
and saying,
assumption, and
So something I heard yesterday that I thought was very powerful is that it's not if a pipeline leaks, every pipeline leaks, every pipeline seeps. There's a certain amount that's like assumed in there, like 1% could leak and not have they wouldn't have to search the whole line and find it. 1% of 50,000 gallons a day or 500,000 gallons a day.
See, and the people I'm working with out here, I may have my own personal opinion on it, but my reason for being out here is very non-political. I'm not for or against the pipeline. I just want a safe community. I mean, unfortunately, my daughter is going to school, and she came home and said, kids of different colors are looking at each other different, Dad. Why? Unfortunately, because of exaggerations in the media, both ways, and misinformation, and people, like I say, I know a lot of people that would feel uncomfortable standing here right now because of rumors and stereotypes. Like I've had a lot of great conversations with people from in town and out of town. I mean, expressing their opinion, and it's been nothing. I've had nothing but good conversations.
So you should know, I'm a teacher, and I drove all the way out here, and I'm here for the kids. I'm really
Right.
worried about these children that can be poisoned in their future.
And a lot of teachers are asking how they can talk to the children, and because how many years has it taken us? We have a long way to go, but how many years has it taken us to get to this point to try to get rid of that racial divide? And now to see it starting to come back is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that. Well, there are some.
It's been there.
It has.
Do you think this is just bringing it out into
Right.
the light? What was
Right.
hidden in the darkness?
I
I feel like in our
very
country
possible. I think a
altogether,
lot of us
stuff's
are
being
very
brought out.
naive to things
Yeah.
that are happening.
Right, yeah. So my thing about the safety is that I worry for everybody's safety with water, because if that water line breaks and people just downstream of you don't have clean drinking water,
Here's my
they're going to
question.
be streaming into here.
Right.
Violence will happen when millions of people don't have water.
The
to
question
drink.
I have is, you guys do realize that about 150 miles north, it already crosses the Missouri River once, right? This same pipeline.
Tried to stop the whole thing.
No, I'm just saying. So I mean, I understand what you're saying,
Yeah.
and that doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people aren't focusing on the whole picture.
Yeah.
Right. So some of the
yeah.
messages that are being put
And-
out saying, if we stop it here, we'll be okay.
Right.
I think
No,
that's
I
where a lot
think
of people.
That's the confusion too, though. That it's very important because it's at the head and it's coming down and it's a huge line.
Right.
That water's going overseas. It has nothing to do with the people here and won't benefit them in any way. So it's just dangerous. Oil.
Right.
The oil is. So it doesn't really benefit anyone around here. And to me, we're ready for alternative energy. I mean, you look at these cars and diesel fuel. I have a few cars that own diesel cars. They can run on biofuel. They stopped making them in the United States.
You know who
They're
needs to show
impossible
up
ship
here
in.
and have a great conversation? George Soros and Kelsey Warren. Warren, right?
Oh,
That's as wouldn't
Go-
that be an interesting conversation? Because those two gentlemen.
so your assumption makes it sound like you're saying that George Soros is paying us.
No, I'm saying that George Soros is just on a completely polar political side than Kelsey Warren.
I just don't think that
And even financially.
George Soros is so
No,
irrelevant.
I have no,
Speak in a-
I have no
a
assumption.
context,
I've
yeah.
heard that rumor too.
He just seems so irrelevant.
I've never
He's-
seen anybody
He's
show me a
just
paycheck.
saying, would it be interesting to have
I
people
get it.
from opposite sides
Right,
of the
sit down and have that
spectrum
conversation
coming
and
together and reasonable.
these powerful corporate America people that are
Yeah.
putting us in these positions.
Right. Yeah.
To speak on a more immediate level, something that happened the other night is the tribe, folks down there would like 1806 open,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can get to and from town. People need medical support, things of that nature, and it's been shut down as a way to try and cut the group off and cut off people from here to see what's going on there, and people from there getting here. And that's, I think, the most immediate thing. Stopping the pipeline, yes, and very, very shortly just opening that road.
Well,
opening
and I
that
know
communication.
one of the issues there is the reason that was closed is because some of the campers had moved illegally over to the other side of the bridge that was not allowed to be camped on private land, and they don't want that to happen again. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, I don't know if you can make that assumption it's going to happen again. That may be fair or unfair. I don't know. But that's the reasoning in the first place to shut it down.
I think from the perspective, and pardon me if you want to speak, please feel free to speak, and if you don't, that's okay too. My understanding, I'm an attorney,
Okay.
not here,
Great.
but I used to work for oil and gas.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of time struggling with that, and quit my job. I had a very high-paying job. I was moving into partnership in my firm, and left because I couldn't do it anymore. So there's an environmental piece that's going on that I think is critical. The oil and gas people I worked with are good people,
Right.
but there's an unwillingness to look at, because they're getting paid, right? They're getting paid. It's hard
A lot
to
of
cut
people
off
wouldn't
your
be able to make
own-
the decision you did to give up the money to follow your passion and your heart
It's
and do the
hard.
right thing.
But there's another piece of it to me that is important, and that is, you say, well, that's private land. There's a dispute about that land
Right,
that
and
has
I-
not been addressed.
Right, and
it's
I don't have-
critical, right? So it's easy to say, well, they're on private land, so that's why the police set it up. But there's a deeper question there that I think is important and hasn't been resolved. There was a Supreme Court case about the Black Hills, but the northern border of the treaty land, I think it's insufficient to say, well, it's private land, so the police are protecting the private land.
And I definitely have a black and white opinion on that one. For one, the group that is on the reservation of Standing Rock now were not the original landowners. The Chippewa had that before they were taken over. The geography of the world today is 100% created. Every border is created by conflict and war.
But the Sioux have a treaty with the United States government, and treaties under the Constitution are the supreme law of the land.
Right.
And the borders of the treaty are known.
But there's
The
multiple
land-
layers of that treaty.
There are two, the 1851
Yep.
and the 1858, and the
In
borders of that are
1863, correct?
No, there wasn't one after the.
Because the last
1858,
one
not
created the
1868.
border that there is today.
So there are two pieces
Right.
that weren't addressed. One that has hunting rights that are in addition.
And I
but-
don't know enough about it legally to know if the one that overrode the first one is in fact constitutional.
Well, but I
Right.
think the point is that hasn't been addressed.
Correct.
And so when you say, "Oh, this is private land," I think you need to be very careful and thoughtful about saying
As the
that.
law outlines it today.
Well, but that's the question. That's the question, because the case that went to the Supreme Court about the Black Hills, that was private land. The Black Hills were taken, and the Supreme Court said, no, in fact, that was part of the treaty, and it was improperly taken. So those treaties are still recognized by the U.S. government.
But
And
as the
so
federal government recognizes it today,
That's the question. That's the question. It has not been decided by a court that has jurisdiction.
but the Bureau
And
of
the
Land
question is,
Management outlined.
they
I'm not
say
saying
that-
right.
right,
I'm not
they
saying that
say
they
they
have the
have.
overall decision.
That's exactly
Right.
right.
I agree with you.
And I'm not saying you have to know, and I'm
Right.
not saying I know. What I'm saying is there's a very serious question about that, and to me, as an attorney, that's a question that
And that should be on the forefront of this.
And a lot of people, for a lot of people, it is. That's why a lot of people are talking about indigenous sovereignty. And standing on the side that people say is private land, that's an act of indigenous sovereignty. And I hate speaking for the tribe on this because I think it's more important that tribal people speak on it, but I think it's also important that you and I be able to talk about it, because I think it's a real critical question that for me as an attorney is about justice and who I want my country to be, and understanding that the treaties that we made, we cut back and cut back and cut back and cut back on the land without the agreement of the Sioux. We made that agreement with the Sioux, and it's really problematic for me to see the police on land that is claimed by the tribe under a treaty that's recognized by the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. So I'm very, very troubled. The
right, but the
actions
most
of the
current
police are
treaty
really
does
bad,
outline the borders the way they are today.
but that's
signed by both
greater.
sides.
That's greater than the reservation. The reservation is not the border of the treaty.
Oh, it sure is.
No, it's not.
I have the legal maps.
It's not. It's not.
I'm not going to argue.
Because
Difference
the
of
Black
opinion.
Hills, the Black Hills are not part of the reservation. And
I'm not talking about. I'm talking north of the Cannonball River.
But the majority of
I don't know anything about south. I know the immediate border that the Bureau of Land Management has drawn the maps from the last treaty. Whether a sign, I'm not saying it's legal or right. I'm just saying what is recognized by the federal government as the border.
That's my point, is that was the treaty that was
And I can't
taken
debate
to
the treaty because I haven't read it
But
in its entirety.
And reading meets and bounds, and it was feet and all kinds of difficult things to understand. But there are maps that are available, and the reservation land is not the treaty land. That was the point. It was originally much greater than that, and taken away and taken away.
The last treaty.
No, both. The treaty. There was a lot of action after the treaty.
See, and these are the conversations I can't have because I am speaking on factual information.
And then maybe,
but you're telling me I'm wrong, and that's. I respect your opinion, and I'm saying that on a lot of these things I may be wrong, but you're not willing to give an inch and say, you know what, I will look into what you're talking about. So I'd rather just end this conversation because this is where the frustration comes in.
No, my point
is that you want to talk but not listen.
My point is not I'm right, you're wrong. My point is
but that's what you're doing.
No, my point is that when you say they're on private land, be cautious about what you're saying.
As it is outlined by the federal government today, it is considered private land.
And that's the question. And that's the question.
I am hearing her, but nobody has pushed that issue to the Supreme Court to make that decision.
Consider, and you're saying no, it's this way.
I'm saying as of right now today.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not. That's not accurate.
She's saying it's not accurate. She's not saying consider. She's saying it's wrong.
All right. So we're Chris. We're talking about a lot of feet and inches, and so I'll just throw another one out there. Did you see any of the footage of Sunday night? The cops just spraying everyone with water in sub-freezing weather. What did you think of that?
My friend was in critical condition.
Several of us were there, and
Well, let him talk. Let him talk.
Yeah. If you saw any of that.
I did see it. It was very disheartening. I wish as everybody, I wish I could have seen a live feed from the very first second through it all. I saw a lot of clips, but you and I both know that if I took a 5-minute video of you, I could make you sound like a hero or make you sound like Satan.
And Kevin's live feed, the one that most everyone saw, is now posted on YouTube, so you can do that.
Right, but he was at such a distance. I'm talking about what actually happened up front. No, I was watching Kevin's video the whole time. Yep. In fact, that's the only information I have. Is I'm so glad he had that out there. The 60,000 people following it was amazing.
Here's my question. I'm driving down here to get back, and I'm having like a panic attack in the car because I know Dapple's drilling. And they don't have the permits to do so.
They're actually not drilling it.
They're not?
No.
That's my understanding.
That is verified information.
By who?
I talked to a gentleman that was down there today, working for the union.
They have a piece of the permit. They don't have all.
They are going to be drilling,
permit.
but they don't even have it.
They don't have the permit.
They're not in a structural position. Is the best way I can say it to be drilling right now today. And the drone footage that's been over it.
I would be surprised if they've drilled without it.
And this may be something you guys want to do, is reach out to somebody who's familiar with horizontal boring and drilling.
I've spoken to the guy.
Right, and if you have them look at the drone footage, they'll be able to explain what each of those pieces of equipment are.
Right.
So the actual drill itself is not even constructed yet. The drill itself is massive. So all the equipment that's down there, maybe pieces
is
of it. There's a
ready.
lot
It's
of
in
light
a separate
sets.
building ready to go.
That's-
anyway.
No, the drill is bigger than a building.
I would like to finish
Usually
on.
they rent them, so they have.
Right,
They go
it's
from place
huge.
To place.
So,
they only rent
It's
them when they
ridiculously.
know
Have you
their
ever seen
date
an oil
starts.
well? Like the actual drill for an oil well?
Derek?
No, I'm not.
Bigger. Bigger
They're
than a
very
derrick.
large.
Much
And-
bigger than, and that's 300 feet tall, 100 feet wide. I mean, yeah, you've seen them. They're big.
very large.
I would like to thank
you
you
think
for
they're
your
not
conversation and being very
Because
civil, and
everything else would be at risk. They would risk
I'm
every
in no
other
way a
permit that
spokesman
the Army
for
Corps has given them.
Yeah.
They would risk
tribe or
Right, and
anything.
I'm not for
And they-
anything either.
But what I would say
So
is
if
if
they
there are
don't, they
other
couldn't
give the license,
citizens of the town
Yeah,
who are
that last
interested in
permit. And that last
engaging in
permit requires
open dialogue,
Can I put you on?
the means could
Yeah,
be
you
had.
can,
Well, you know,
I
and-
think
and
that would be great for not
If I'm true to my words of saying I want a safe community, how can that happen if we're not having these conversations? How can, I mean, the more these conversations that happen, the more comfortable people are going to feel walking down the street and saying, hey, I saw you talking to some of our citizens, thank you, and shaking each other's hands. That's what needs to happen. I don't believe that anybody here wants anything negative to happen between groups, between law enforcement, or anybody. Nobody wants it.
But there are pieces that do require
I find it hard to believe that there are people that are here just for that reason. I really hope there are.
Can
you know?
I'd like to just follow up on Kevin's live
Yep.
feed there. So regardless of how it started, the narrative that's been put out in the mainstream media seems to be simply based
Thank you.
on the
And
police.
I do respect your
I do
opinion.
too, and I think it's an important conversation. And thank you for being willing to have a conversation.
So the narrative seems to be based on the police report that was put out, and what they're saying is the water was being used to put out fires. And
Actually, when I listened to the chief of police speaking, he did say publicly that they were using it to keep the protesters back.
I have not seen that
in
one.
his press release.
Okay, so that being said,
Yep.
how do you feel about that in that temperature? Is that right? I mean, couldn't they find there's barbed wire?
I will answer that with every bit of training I've had in the military as far as rules of engagement and how to react to a situation. You react with as much aggressiveness as you're being given to you. I wasn't on the law enforcement side up front, but I think it did put a lot of people's lives at risk to be spraying water in 25-degree temperatures. There may have been a better way. I don't know what that better way is, but
I'm glad to hear you say that.
right. Like I say, I wasn't there, so it's easy for me to be an outsider having an opinion. And you can hear my hesitation because I don't want to say it, but it's the truth. And where are we going to get if we don't speak the truth?
Right.
So, I mean, what the right way may have been, I don't know. Do I think that the guys on the ground that were doing it felt at the time they were doing the right thing? Yes.
I was there, and it was brutal. It was
Right.
it was barbaric.
I mean, I do know, and I don't know if it was escalation from one side or the other, but I know there were several law enforcement that were injured as well by rocks, projectiles.
They had body armor. I mean, if there was, I can't imagine that it was more
No,
than a
there
ding.
there was actually one that had a 6-inch gash across the side of his head and face between his helmet and his collar.
I'd like to see the photo.
Right, that he got hit by. And
Can you
like,
can you email me? Would
I
you be
can.
okay with that? And
Yep.
then send me a link.
Yep.
Okay.
So, I agree. I mean, they're all wearing body armor. You know, do I know their stance on the non-lethal, whether it's CS gas, rubber bullets? I don't know the law enforcement stance on when it's appropriate and when it's not. I would hope that they felt it was appropriate, but you know, just like a lot of the protests around the country, unfortunately, some of the reforms that have happened are because something brought it to light. So if they do find that it was excessive force, I really hope that it's fixed.
Thanks for talking.
Yeah.
I know the battery's going to run out, so just want to wrap it up. But
No, and I'd much rather have the conversation like with a group like this rather than on the corner there.
Sure.
And that's why I didn't want to talk over there, because it would just get muddy
okay.
instead of being able to have a decent.
So again, this was Chris Lemke. I'm going to sign out.
All right.